but he has that potential. It's a cutter and a changeup that effectively misses the barrel. That's what they do, and it's not fast. It doesn't look pretty. It's part of the Chad Bradford experience of not looking like your conventional starter, so I think people overlook Yarbrough a little bit. But I imagine that Yarbrough is a very cheap entity entering this year, and he hasn't put a whip of 130 or higher in his career. Last 2 years combined are about a 115. It was a 1 whip in 2019 and 119 in 2020. Strikeout rate is probably going to be around 20%, but if you expect a 125 whip and 4 ERA, I mean, great. I'm stoked about that from Yarbrough. Sure, it might be a little headache-inducing about is he starting, how long is he going necessarily, but as far as the other guys around him, volume shouldn't be much of an issue. It should be like 160, 170 maybe, as they keep relying on him this season. Just don't expect like a 25% K rate, and you're fine.
Yeah, he had 1 win last year. 1. Ruben,
Whatever.
Thoughts on the what is he the
Fratty Pirate? He's saying yar, bruh.
I love that.
Well, you're talking about the innings. He started a total, I think, 9 games last year. He had 11 appearances. Of those 9 games, he did go 5 or more innings, 6 out of the 9, and one of those starts, he was coming off an injury. That's why he only pitched 3 innings. So I think they're trying to trend him up. He does have, on average, about 140 innings pitched per season, so there's no reason to doubt that he can do 150, maybe even 160 if the Rays will allow it. He is one of the 3, I would say, true starters who are healthy right now. He's of the top 3 of the 3-headed monster of, I guess we're gonna call it 3-headed monster of Glass now, Archer and Yarbrough. Like 3-headed monster, I don't know. And another guy we're gonna mention right after this, a rookie coming up. I think next one we're gonna talk about Josh Fleming. He's gonna have even less innings than Yarbrough. So if you want to trust one of these guys, Yarbrough will be that ERA and whip stabilizer that you can afford to have on your team so that you can throw those 2-star pitchers in later to get those strikeouts and not have to worry about the ERA and whip.
Josh Fleming, you mentioned here, ATC usually isn't very high on guys with not that much experience, yet it's showing as a $3 player, and he's going in the 30th round of NFBC drafts, so we're talking like the last bench player. Maybe he's not even taken in them. He's going pick 442. I'll start with you, Nick. Any thoughts on a guy who had 64% ground ball rate and pretty high ground ball rate in the minors? What do you think?
I mean, Josh Fleming, I have such an affinity for Josh Fleming because I love to see guys who can throw, who have amazing pitch separation. Fleming is able to put his cutter glove side all the time and then put his sinker arm side all the time. He's a lefty. I remember when he came up, and I think it was the second start of the season was against Miami, had 6 strikeouts, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a look at this. And it's glorious. You see the strike zone plot. Literally, it's just yellow on one side and orange on the other. He's just so good at that. But I don't think the Rays are going to let him be like a 6-inning guy. This is the guy that will get opened all the time. And they'll be happy to get like 4 good innings, 4 or 5 out of Josh Fleming, who's able to just go sliders glove side, sinker's arm side, and that's kind of it. He calls it a day. So I don't think that's someone you want to chase. I don't think it's something that speaks to enough of a ceiling in a 12-teamer for you to go after a 15-teamer. I think you're still going to be wanting more out of that roster spot than what Josh Fleming is going to give you. But I don't know. I kind of dig it. I really hope it works. I hope he can just do those 2 things like clockwork and have success. It's just, yeah, he's on the Rays. He's not going to get the proper opportunity you want.
I have him down for 120 innings. So, I mean, if he gets 140 innings, he could be worth $7. I have him as a $3 player. There's upside here, no doubt. Ruben?
Josh Fleming's last start of the season, he had a career-high 6-inning game. He had a career-high 90 pitches. That's his career high. They have to, if they're going to compete, and they see in the AL East, and they see that he's able to pitch against the AL East and actually do well against them, you know what? They have to pull back a little bit. I know I'm still upset about them pulling Blake Snell because he was pitching such a good game. But sometimes you do analytics to the point where you shoot yourself in the foot. And this is a point where, you know what? If you have a window to win, they have a window to win. They have to take it. Josh Fleming is right now the number 5 starter. And you know what? If you have the last pick and you need a pitcher, he's the guy to take because you know what? He's going to be on a good team. He's going to get you some wins. He may not pitch that much, but his ERA is not going to kill you. His whip is not going to kill you. And you know what? There's a chance that he may turn out to be the number 4 starter on the team. And you know what? The number 4 starter on the team on the Rays is a lot better than the number 4 starter team on most other teams in baseball. So I would take that.
I do want to mention one thing here. That final start of the year, 6 innings, 5 strikeouts against the Phillies. That was on the last day of the regular season, and Fleming was not on the ALDS roster. So the Rays just kind of were like, all right, go ahead, Fleming. Go 90 pitches. We're not going to micromanage you today. You're doing great. Sure. Well, the entire bullpen could use some rest. You don't need to be saved up for anything else. Just go ahead. So I do worry. I want that to be the thing consistently. But I have some hesitation leaning on that.
Very good point. The ground ball rate, though, means he might be an effective pitcher in terms of not effective, efficient. Efficient meaning a few pitches per inning because he's generating all the ground balls. So maybe he lasts a little bit longer than you might think. But yeah, that's a good point about the fact that he really isn't on the postseason roster there. Didn't realize that. Let's wait and see with these guys. But more importantly, Nick, you need a nickname for Josh Fleming. Flaming Flem.
I do. Oh man, I don't want to give him a nickname yet because it can go 2 different ways, and I want it to be the good way.
Okay, got it.
Fosh Gemming. There we go. Let's go with that.
Fosh Gemming. All right.
Because he's pitching well. He's gemming.
Just like Jarek Dieter, right?
There it is.
All right, we'll do a couple of mailbag questions here. The first 2 are very similar to each other, so I'll just read them back to back. Jared asks, do reports of the deadened ball in 2021 make later round flyball pitchers like Boyd and Ray more interesting than they would have been before the news? Also, Nick asks, with the news of the MLB deadening the ball, are you moving pitching up or down in general? I feel like hitting should be moved up since there may not be as big a gap between the tiers of starting pitchers anymore. 2 pretty good questions. We didn't talk about it earlier. You hinted at it earlier, but we're getting reports that the ball could be deadened, which means that balls won't travel as far. Some people are going to be hitting fewer homers, which means that pitchers might be better because the balls will be caught. Thoughts on this, Nick?
We have no idea, and it's hard to make any sort of adjustments based on it. I like the idea of fewer home runs because I inherently root for the pitcher. I feel like hitters can just be cardboard cutouts, just sitting there in the plate, whatever. Don't care about you. It's all about the pitcher. So fewer home runs means more good things happen to my guys. But yeah, that's a good point. But hey, Matthew Boyd, that was a huge home run problem. Same with Robbie Ray. Well, with Boyd, I think I'd put more weight on the fact that he was injured through last year and he didn't really have a slider. That was his major pitch for ages. And with Robbie Ray, well, he had a new arm circle, and then he reverted from that new arm circle that made us excited, but then it didn't work, so he reverted it when he got to Toronto. And I think those factors are a larger weight. It could make a difference, and I think it's a good point saying, if there are fewer home runs, how does it change the landscape? Probably the guys that are de facto home run hitters actually get a boost because you'll see fewer wall scrapers, essentially. But honestly, I'm not really making any drastic changes. I think it's something that we just don't know how to wait, and we don't know how it's going to affect things. So I wouldn't really use that over all the other information that we have already.
Yeah, I agree. It's very hard to discern right now. I will say you'll know very quickly. We're talking about just like a week or 2 into the season whether the deadened ball has an effect and what it is, and you'll be able to make changes there. But it's really hard to know what the story is. I think that whether there's a DH in the National League or not, that's going to have a much bigger effect. You're going to see National League ERAs could be a difference of a half a point for pitchers. That's much more important to me than the deadened balls. Now, as to the point as to whether you should be moving pitching up or down, I don't think so. I think that unless you can discern a real relativity between pitchers, and I think the relativities are more on the hitter side than the pitcher side. Again, if your whole league is not changing the values of pitchers, if you're suddenly changing the value of the pitchers, you're not doing anything, because all you're doing is saying that I'm valuing hitting more, so you'll be better in hitting and you'll be worse in pitching because you're going to acquire fewer pitchers. I don't think it should make any difference in terms of what you do, hitters versus pitchers. Ruben?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make a difference either where you should take them. I mean, when you're comparing like Boyd and Ray, all I care about in Boyd and Ray are their strikeout rates. Last year, Boyd had like only like close to an 8.95, which is low for him. Ray, he still was getting those strikeouts. But you know what? For both of them, their home run for fly ball rate didn't really go up that much the last couple of seasons. So it's not like they were giving up more home runs. It's that they were having less swings and misses, in my opinion. Now, as of whether they're actually going to do this, I think it's not in the interest of baseball to do this, because the home runs are sexy, offense is sexy, and if they want more people to watch baseball, they're going to keep the offense the way it is. They have a better chance of changing something if they want to maybe move the mound back or raise the mound or something like that. But deadening the balls, the players today are bigger and stronger than they were a couple of years ago, and just deadening the ball is not going to do that much. So what? Instead of hitting it 450 feet, you're going to hit it 420 feet. It's still going to be a home run, and a lot of these guys, it's still going to be a home run. So that's my opinion.
I mean, for some of those, but for the ones who have a much lower average fly ball distance, I think it could make the difference. Could be 20%, 30% of their homers. Depends who you are, right?
But again, baseball wants offense. That's how they bring quote unquote fans to the seats. That's how they get people to watch. And you know what? It's in the best interest of baseball not to do this. Actually,
maybe. I kind of think baseball wants it. I kind of think they want more balls in play. But the problem, though, with the deadening ball is, you're solving the homer problem. You're putting more balls in play, but you're not solving there's too many strikeouts and walks in the game, right? The problem is that you want batters not to strike out. The shift. You're not doing anything. People are just going to pile up on you on one side, right? Thoughts on this?
Or hopefully you could just beat the shift.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I was
right.
going to say, but you beat me to it. Yes.
There you go.
I knew it was in there, Ruvain.
Yeah.
All right. It's getting late here, so we'll do one more question from Jacob. He says, I had to pay $42 for Bueller last season just to get that one ace. He plays in an auction league. Is there a point now with the supply and demand of ace starting pitcher that you're just tapping out? Or should you go all in to get that anchor starting pitcher? My league has a few heavy spenders in it. It's a 5x5 head-to-head league. So the question here, I think, Nick, is, when is enough too much? Like, yes, people are paying more, and yes, you should pay more than in the past, but, are you paying $50 for a starting pitcher in a standard 5x5 league? Like, when is the point where you say, the heck with it? I don't need that ace. Let's just let the people pay that much.
I mean, you know me. I'm not gonna pay $50 for Shane Bieber. I'm gonna wait on the guys that I like. I am in the camp that the discount starters, if you just go after those, you can formulate an amazing rotation. If you go for the guys that are generally ranked around 10 to 30, 35. I mean, I can extend that to 40. But in an auction league, I mean, you can really, like, if you're spending $50 on a Bieber, you can get, three guys instead for that cost or so that will be amazing for you. I would much rather go that route instead.
Right. Ruvain?
I actually think that those players, the top pitchers, could be worth it. I mean, just look at last year. According to the ATC calculations, Shane Bieber was worth 48 last year. Okay, Yu Darvish was worth 37. You have DeGrom was only worth 28. And Cole's only 29. But over a course of a full season, they may have hit a higher level. Trevor Bauer on the Reds was worth 41 last year. So the pitchers at the higher level, they do have the opportunity to make their value. Is it the right thing? Not necessarily, because pitchers are very different creatures than hitters, and what you're going to get one year, you're not going to get it enough from another. I mean, some people could predict that Yu Darvish was going to step up to the way he was, but who could have predicted a pitcher who had a career ERA in the fours would turn into a 40-year $1 million contract for the Dodgers? You just can't predict that. If something turns on, you don't necessarily need to have that $42 pitcher. You can get that middle tier pitcher. You can get that Kenta Maeda, who was worth $33 last year. Get him a lot cheaper, and you can still have a profit there.
Yeah, so I'll tell you this, Jacob, asking the question here. My research has shown that getting that high-priced pitcher has been a pretty good return on investment over the time, where a lot of pitchers in the middle rounds